Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. HTM here. I am jumping on the PTS this week for a little bit of testing. Overall, I think the Necromancer looks like it may be improved. It seems to be the class that got the most balance changes overall. I didn't see any nerfs. All I saw were either bug fixes or upgrades potentially to the skill. So I wanted to check those out and see if the Necromancer is actually any better at this point. And then I'll offer some feedback as well. So let's jump right into the skills here. As far as what got changed, there was a major change with blastbones. Now it's not even mentioned here on the tooltip of how the corpse works. But basically what happens is the corpse is going to be now a bomb. It's going to be a missile. That's kind of the way they set it up. It says the skeleton from this ability and its morphs will now attempt to leap from the target up to 28 meters after a short delay of spawning rather than 15 meters. So basically the way it used to work is it would spawn in, it would start to run towards your target, and then at about 15 meters it would leap. Now it's just going to leap right off the bat. As soon as it's done spawning in, it's going to fly through the air towards your target and detonate. So it's basically now a full-on skeleton bomb. Let's see, they fixed an issue where it would appear to jump backwards, so that's a bug fix. And they also increased the speed in which the skeleton jumps. So let's check it out, shall we? So I'm going to start right here, about mid-range. Spawned it in. And you can see it does jump. It has a little, it runs for like a meter or so. And then it does do the jump. Let's test a little bit further back. Now that's where you really kind of notice the speed. It is definitely a lot faster. You can just see that. And then let's go ahead and go into melee range. Just why not? See what that looks like. So there's basically no jump necessary. When you're that close, it just explodes. So this seems like a great fix. I mean, yes, it took a little while. It took almost a year to get to this point, but this seems now like a very final, a very good version of the blastbones skill. That's not to say that the skill is perfect. I still have a few issues with it. One of those is the morph choices. So let's look at the morph options here. Under blastbones, blighted blastbones is still the same. It's going to deal disease damage. It does have the major defile debuff for 4 seconds, so that's great. It's especially nice on stamina necromancer builds for PvP. It's awesome. But then if you check out the Magicamorph stalking blastbones, the skeleton deals more damage the longer it chases the target. Now we can grab this morph and see if it actually works, but the thing is the blastbone actually chasing, since now it's just doing a leap? So let's go ahead and pick this morph. And we'll test out some different distances. So melee range 56-51. Mid-range 56-51. Let's go max range, shall we? Max range. That was a crit, so I don't know. Let's try again. 56-51. So the scaling is broken. The scaling does not make sense because it's no longer chasing your target, right? It's just leaping. So we need to think about adjusting this, and maybe they're already thinking about this, but in future weeks, in the next 4 or 5 weeks, I want to see what else they add to this, because the secondary effect no longer works. That's something that we need to keep in mind. What else could they add to this? There's plenty of options. I mean, one thing would just maybe be like a dot effect. After the blast, the target gets a dot. You could even give them the burning status effect. Could be a small fire dot. Doesn't really matter. Another option would be maybe it applies off balance. I don't know. There's tons of different things that the developers could put on the Magicamorph to make it make sense, to have an actual secondary effect that works. So there is that. As far as the targeting and the way the skill works, though, I am super happy with it. It's awesome. Now the other change, the big one, has to do with corpses in general. So let's check this one out. Due to the many mechanical issues with Necromancer engagement, corpses, targeting of corpses, following changes were made. So blastbones will now last 6 seconds rather than 5. So that's talking about the corpse. Skeletal Mage and Spirit Mender, the corpses now last 10 seconds rather than 5. So that's double the duration of those corpses. Awesome. They also improved the targeting area from Tether abilities. It will now link to the corpse closest to your reticle from a much larger radius. So we can test some of these. For example, the Spirit Mender corpse. We could just kind of do a quick check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then it overlapped with the next one. So it's at least 10 seconds. The blastbones is supposed to be up for 6 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, about right. Now in terms of the tether, tethering abilities, the Necro has a few of them. These were like extremely difficult to use in some situations. You had to be like almost right on top of it, and it was very hard to make it work. So the tether is my middle ability right here. And it was lit up already. I didn't have to move my cursor around pretty much at all to grab it. So that seems to be good. That seems to be working. I want to test a little bit the range here. So let's create a new corpse. And it's, again, my tether is that third ability. So I'm looking at it, I'm turning. I can still cast it even if my cursor is not on the skeleton, which is great news. That makes it much easier. I'm going to try one more time and see how much farther I can turn here until it stops working. Okay, so I'm on it, tether, tether. So about here, that's how far my cursor can be off, which is really good. That's really good. I like it. I like this change. It feels good. Feels like it's a lot better. It feels like it actually works. So thumbs up on the new tether targeting. Looks good. So overall, you know, is the Necromancer actually good now? I think it's gotten a lot better for sure. These changes are significant. We also had the cost reduction to Boneyard. Now you can see it only costs 2,835 on my light armor build. Very cheap to cast. It was closer to 4K in the past, so that does look good. That's a good cost reduction. So the only thing I would say that's really missing at this point from the Necromancer, I mean, there's a couple things, but from my perspective, we talked about stocking blastbones. This needs an updated secondary effect to compare with the stamina morph, because right now the bonus chase range does nothing. And then I would still like to see some updates to Flame Skull. Flame Skull is a very underperforming, let's just say boring. It's a very boring skill. Venom Skull, the third cast, you get a little bit of bonus damage. Ricochet Skull, the third cast, you get 2 times bounce. These are just kind of boring effects. Like, as far as the Venom Skull, you're almost never going to use Venom Skull on a stamina build. If you're running dual wield, you have a better spammable. If you're running 2H, you have a better spammable. So it would be nice to see something here that makes it worthwhile, that makes you even consider it, because right now you're not even going to look at this as a skill worth running. I would say maybe some cleave damage, maybe some splash damage. Make it a small conal effect instead of a single target effect. And you can still do the third cast, you know, increase damage 20%, but let me let me hit multiple targets with this instead of just one. It's kind of boring. And then for the Ricochet Skull, I don't know, honestly. You only get splash damage every third cast from this. So this is much weaker than like Force Shock, for example, where you get the splash damage every single cast. They might need the splash damage every cast. It might even need something else besides that. You know, last year we saw some updates to the Warden the Cliff Racer skill where that got like off balance and it got a bleed. You know, something like that where there's some more interesting effects. I'm just not a fan of this like every third cast stuff. I don't think it's interesting. It's not reliable enough. So those are my thoughts at least. Let me know in the comments section below what you think about the Necromancer class now in 2020. Do you think it's actually good at this point, or what sort of updates are you still looking to see for the class? Also, let me know what you think of the blastbones changes and the tethering. As always, if you enjoyed the video today, don't forget to crush that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more ESO updates very soon. And until then, I will see you around in the next video.